Welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal have set their priorities for the January transfer window. Arsenal will try to sign a midfielder in January, preferably on loan, and then we can consolidate the signing in the summer. However, Arsenal will not be looking at a striker. It is more likely that Arsenal will try to sign a striker in the summer. I want your thoughts. I want your opinions as we dive into who are the priority targets for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. And I think the most important question, why, and are we really getting it right when we go, we want midfielders but not forwards in January? Where are the areas in which Arsenal don't have enough depth? Is it forward? Is it in midfield? Or is it actually at the back? In my opinion, I'll be giving you my thoughts there. But of course, we've done a video on Joao Palhinha and how I think Joao Palhinha, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard could be the next dangerous trio that Mikel Arteta is building. If he can get Joao Palhinha in this side, he could be the start of everything. So hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the podcast. What are your thoughts on Joao Palhinha? What are your thoughts on Luiz? And what are your thoughts on Arsenal going for a midfielder rather than going for a striker? A position where we've actually lacked for years now, ever since Mikel Arteta signing for the club. Right, let's get into it. I think the most important part of this video is, let us understand this. It is still a lot of speculation and it's still a lot of time for us to get to the January transfer window. So anything could change. We could go into January with an injury to Jesus, and that means Arsenal will have to focus or reshift their focus to a centre forward. However, as per time of recording, according to SR Collins, Arsenal's priority in January is to sign another midfielder. They want to get in most preferably a central midfielder, but it could be one player that can play as a DM and also as a central midfield. Now, this is what I'm thinking. Probably Thomas Partey has given Mikel Arteta a reason to rethink his strategy and a reason to actually rethink his squad. Remember when in the summer we had Partey, we had Jorginho, we had Declan Rice. So it seemed kind of enough. It was kind of enough. You had three of the world's best defensive midfielders, and all these players can actually play at central midfield. So literally, Arsenal had enough depth. Arsenal had enough quality in those areas. But the truth is that it wasn't a lot of quality. It was Rice and Partey, and that is where these numbers, when you have so many players around, that is where it could deceive you. It was Partey and Rice. Those were the two players that you could rely on. Those are the two players that you could really go, well, I have two of the world's best defensive midfielders. And when Thomas Partey picked up that first time injury, we all thought when he comes back, Arsenal will be in a much better place. And then he picked up a second, and it's been recurring and ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. He's not played a game for Arsenal in months, and we don't expect him to play a game for Arsenal still in months as well. So that means that Mikel has now to rethink the midfield and the decisions he makes in January. Do I go for a striker, although I still have Edin Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus, Leandro Trossard, who can actually be oscillating between themselves in that position, or do I go and sign a defensive midfielder, a player who can give me that extra assurance that when Deckers is injured, when Martin Odegaard is not there, when Fabio Vieira is not hitting, I can actually get some good quality. And I think that's what Mikel has decided to do. Let's go for a midfielder. It's not a bad decision. I just didn't envision it. I just didn't see it coming. I just didn't think Arsenal would go and sign a midfielder in January. So the first name on the list is Douglas Luiz, according to Fabrizio Romano. Douglas Luiz is a player that Arsenal have followed for quite some time, together with Pedro Neto. However, it looks like Arsenal will not be trying to sign Pedro Neto because he's injured in January, and will be trying to sign Douglas Luiz come the winter. Now, this one is an interesting one because when I look at Aston Villa, where they are, the point difference between them and Arsenal and them and Liverpool, and the optimism that they could win the UEFA Conference League, this season, I don't think Douglas Luiz is a sensible signing or transfer target in January. Don't get me wrong, sensible signing, absolutely sensible signing. But is he a sensible transfer target in January? I really don't think so. I think he's a long-term player that you look at you could save some funds, you could set aside some income, and then you're ready to go. That budget will bring in Douglas Luiz in the summer. I think Arsenal can sign Douglas Luiz in the summer realistically, and I think Aston Villa will have nothing to do about it. He's under contract. If we actually table the right amount of money and we get the player into our own perspective and narrative, he's gonna push for a move. I don't think Douglas Luiz looks at Aston Villa as bigger than Arsenal. Even if they finished above Arsenal this season, I think he would move to Arsenal. I think he would love to move to Arsenal. Now, this one is a sensible one in terms of the profile. Jorginho is quite a very good player, but Jorginho has things that he cannot offer anymore at his age and his profile generally. I don't think he offers that kind of physicality. We have already seen it this season, I think, on 2 occasions. Jorginho losing the ball in dangerous areas, and one of them amounted to an equalizer to Tottenham Hotspur. So I think with Douglas Luiz, you're signing that Jorginho prototype. It's signing that Jorginho, kind of profile, but with a younger player, more energetic player, more physical player. I think his passing is lit as well. Not probably not to the levels of Jorginho, but I love his passing stats. So that is why I think Mikel Arteta targeting Douglas Luiz is a good move. It's a very, very sensible move. But can we get him in January? No. We cannot. Even if you tabled 100 million, Aston Villa are not giving you Douglas Luiz. I mean, 100 million might be an over-exaggeration. They could, right? They could be tempted. But we've seen teams like Brighton refuse and turn down 80 million for a Moises Caicedo in January, and it ended up on the right-hand side, on the right side for them. So Douglas Luiz, good player, I like him. If we signed him, you can play him alongside Declan Rice and Odegaard. You can play him alongside Declan Rice, and you could create that number 10 role that Kai really loves a lot. And I think I would love to see him play in the number 10 at some point in time at Arsenal. Kai. So he's a player that would fit in very well. Not very athletic. I don't think most of our midfielders are really that athletic. I don't think they're running a lot. Odegaard really does run a lot. But Kai, Rice, Jorginho, Elneny, they're not that athletic. Partey, they're not that athletic. And what Mikel wants is that kind of calm player, that kind of cool head in the midfield. Someone that can actually just, help out with with the game management. I think he's going to be that kind of guy if he joins Arsenal. And still, Douglas Luiz, as he gets older, he's going to get much better. I look at him as a Sergio Busquets, by the way. I mean, Busquets is levels, like levels. If you do watch Spain and Barcelona, Busquets is like levels, right? But I kind of look at him as Busquets. Simple, quiet, a little bit, nasty at times, but you really don't recognize his presence unless it is something that requires you to recognize his presence in the end, okay? So that is Douglas Luiz priority. Arsenal would love to sign him in January. He's top of the list. However, if Arsenal don't get him, next on the list is Joao Palhinha. I've done a video on Joao Palhinha, like I said. You could go check it out. And it's mainly about how Mikel Arteta would set up with Odegaard, Rice, and Palhinha, and why it would be a super midfield. So Joao Palhinha is the next option on the list. I love Joao Palhinha. I think he's a good player. But look, I've not been impressed with so many players outside the big six. But Joao Palhinha has really, really done it for me. Now, and West Ham do have a few, by the way, that I really like. But Palhinha, my God, oh my God, Joao Palhinha is a nuisance in midfield. Now, he does get yellow cards, by the way. If you like him, you must know that. He's one guy that can collect 10 yellow cards in a single campaign. He's got that ability to do that. But Joao Palhinha, for me, age-wise, doesn't make any sense, by the way. It really doesn't. Because there is competition on Joao Palhinha. He signed a new deal at Fulham, and I think Bayern will be back for him. Arsenal now right there in the mix. I think Man United are desperate for someone like that. They could just get their feet into the game. It's going to be costly. It's going to be expensive. I think with Joao Palhinha, it's about Arsenal thinking, can we sign him before anyone actually gets active? Can we steal him away? It's gonna be more of a steal. But I won't be surprised for us to go and chase Joao Palhinha for a whole month or even a whole 6 months until the summer, and then it goes to someone else like Yuri Tillman, something like that. He reminds me of the Yuri Tillman situation. So I like Joao Palhinha, but at 29, him coming to replace Partey at 29, I'm not too sure about it. I'm not really sure about the signing. I'm not really sure. I'm not convinced that he is the guy to take Arsenal to the next level for 5 years. Right now, in the here and the now, Joao Palhinha, excellent signings. But for the future, I don't think he's the guy. I think Arsenal would sign him and then eventually pay more money to replace him within a very short period of time. Now, I don't have a problem with that. Man United did sign Robin van Persie to win them one title, and that is kind of savage, like really savage from Ferguson. But it has not gone very well for us when we have signed the older players, by the way. That is number one. And then number two, I think it's very clear the transfer strategy at Arsenal. Very similar to what is at Ajax, very similar to what is at Borussia Dortmund. Sign them young, groom them, and then use them for wherever you want. You could sell them, you could keep them, you could give them massive contracts, but bring them in while they are young, okay? And with Joao Palhinha at 29, I'm going to leave this one for the comment section. I want your thoughts there. I want your opinions right there. Now, the stories are also saying that Mikel Arteta and Edu would love to sign a midfielder on loan, preferably on loan, and then we could look at the permanent signings in the summer. I don't think there's so many players we're going to get on loan that are real good quality. Like, you can't get Joao Palhinha on loan. You can't get Douglas Luiz on loan in January. You cannot even get Joe McGinn on loan in January. You just can't. Don't know why Joe McGinn came onto my tongue, but I do like him as a player, by the way. I really, really like John McGinn. But I kind of see the lens. I kind of see the perspective that Arsenal want to take. Bolden your midfield and have bold midfield options, but just make sure that you're not spending recklessly and do not spend at a time when everyone is, just rising the price because they don't want to sell. Like, you could go to Napoli and you could look at Anguissa. I think in the summer, Anguissa is going to be a very cheap, not really very cheap, but a cheap option and a very good option, by the way. So if we can go and sign Anguissa from Napoli, I would like that. But I don't think Napoli are giving you Anguissa in January on loan. They're just not doing that, okay? So I would love to really see and understand what Mikel Arteta wants and what he has in his head when it comes to the broader picture of that role. But in January, it is time for us to sit and watch as Edu and Mikel Arteta get to work. Now, Ivan Toney is not among the players that Arsenal are currently focused on to sign in January. In my later videos that are going to come subsequently, this might change. This might definitely change. I'll look at all the sources and all the information out there, and then I'll be giving you the best of the best. But what I want to say here, guys, what I want to say is a striker for us in January is like a necessity. Ask me why. I think if Arsenal had a good striker, and those two chances that Odegaard had both in the first half and in the second half are falling to your number 9, I think Erling Haaland buries both of them. I think Ivan Toney buries one of them. Oli Watkins would bury one of them. Victor Osimhen at his current form would bury one of them. Dusan Vlahovic, definitely one of them. And a player like Benjamin Sesko, I would definitely say one of them. Or Victor Boniface, would, with his current form, both of them. So I think we're shying away from the real problem. I'm not saying Ivan Toney would save Arsenal after months of not playing football. Not really. But what I'm saying is that Arsenal need to try right? We need to try to get the goals. We need to try to get the goals. And that's why I'm okay with Mikel Arteta messing about a little bit with the strategy, going with Joao Palhinha at 29, because what Joao Palhinha would do, he would sit in a midfield base, create an 8, a box-to-box who's an 8 in Declan Rice, and we would have a proper number 10, and that proper number 10 would give us the opportunity to have a proper number 9. Simple as that. So, do we get a number 9 in January? It looks highly unlikely. And I'm not saying Mikel is to blame. I don't think the January transfer market is going to be good for strikers and clubs that are looking for strikers. So, but I think we should try. Regardless, we should be trying. So, strikers are going to be for the summer. Mikel is sure about that. He's really sure about that. He's sure that in the summer he will have the right list of names for a striker. And I know by the end of January, we will know the target, the main target for Arsenal at striker. But in January, in the January transfer market, we are looking at midfielders, and I want to see who are we really going for, especially now that it's a loan deal. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. If it is not Douglas Luiz and Joao Palhinha, what are your nominations? Let me know, because I'll be doing a video about that very, very soon.